From a trio of superbad teenagers to Napoleon, Dynamite, and Juno, Lady Bird More Than Rides is the titular character in Greta Gerwig's 2017 coming-of-age contemporary comedy. Rather first loves, fighting with your BFFs and parents, or trying to get into college, this is a film that hits on all the hallmarks the subgenre offers, but does it in a way that seems completely unique to Lady Bird, while simultaneously feeling like a life we've all lived. Gerwig manages huge life moments with the mundane in a way that is as unpredictable as the mood of a teenager, but is always sweet and grounded in humanity. No one feels miscast, nor is there a bad performance in the movie, but it's Ireland's Saoirse Ronan, who shines unbelievably bright and creates a lovable vessel for the audience to experience life as a teenage girl in 2003 through. What I love about Lady Bird is its ability to develop layered supporting characters through their interactions with the main character, not independent of her, so their arcs are more profound when Lady Bird is removed. Laurie Metcalf is both the mom you wish you had, but is equally capable of frustrating you with her stubbornness. No character in Lady Bird can freely be themselves without ridicule, but the ones who don't compromise who they are both grow and support the ones they love most. In the end, Lady Bird, or should I say Christine, learns that a rose can call itself whatever it wants, but that doesn't make life any easier. And it's better to be thankful for what your family has tried to give you instead of what they've failed to deliver. If love is giving something your attention, then I couldn't be happier that one of my very best friends, and someone I absolutely love, painter Jessica Collins, is giving me her attention today. Jessica, I know we're a bit high up here in the trees, but please, if you get frustrated, do not dive out.
No problem. I won't. I promise, Al.
Thank you. Oh, well, that's weird that you shook my paw there, but anyway, no, I'm so glad that you're here joining me today. Was this the first time you saw Lady Bird, watching it for the show, or had you seen this sometime between 2017 and today?
I either saw it the year it came out or the year after it came out. I can't quite remember.
And I'm curious, upon your first screening, how far did you get into the movie before you realized it had nothing to do with Hank Hill's dog?
The whole way.
Oh, wow. All the way to post credits. I hope that doesn't affect your grade. I got about a half an hour in, and I thought, I don't think a cartoon dog is going to show up. I know you're familiar with the show. We break movies down here in 5 different categories, and we start with plot. I'm curious, Jessica Collins, what did you think of the plot of Lady Bird?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great plot. I thought that the movie moved forward very nicely. And the plot actually really surprised me at the end. Like I said, I had seen the movie before, but I completely forgot what happened at the end, and it was actually a little bit, I was taken a little bit aback by it. Most notably, the part where she basically has alcohol poisoning at the end. She goes off on her own, and after her mother has taught her whole life and criticized her about so many things, and then she's finally on her own, which is what she wanted, she fumbles it, and she ends up in the hospital with alcohol poisoning.
I think all great heroes, especially in a comedy, humility has to be a big element of the character. And this movie is always kind of humbling Lady Bird. You know, she can't get too far ahead of things. And yeah, I mean, early on, there's a little bit of a theme of spite that's established, you know, her trying to get into college, especially college on the East Coast. I don't want to say directly to spite her mom, but her mom sort of balks at the idea that she can get into some of these better schools. And so you can tell she's really trying to prove her wrong. So yeah, you're right. As soon as she gets settled, as soon as she gets comfortable, she gets a little too far in the bag. I'm a lion. I don't know if that's actually the expression or not. I want to note, because I mentioned the airport sequence. For those not familiar, there's a really great sequence toward the end of the movie where Lady Bird is getting dropped off at the airport. But what ends up happening is Lady Bird's mom is sort of upset with her, and so she decides not to take her to the gate, and she drives off. And it's this really great sequence because you can kind of see how Laurie Metcalf goes from being really stubborn to realizing she has made a mistake, and she gets really emotional about it, and she gets all the way back to the terminal, and there's this great moment where she's sort of running in. And I think a lot of movies, she sees Lady Bird and there's a big hug, but this movie doesn't give you that. And that I got very emotional. I cried during that moment. That was really rough for me. But at the very end, when she calls her mom and leaves her the voicemail, it's so touching because it's to your point that you just made, it's sort of throughout the whole movie. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to teach her daughter. She's trying to be there for her. And she finally has a moment to give her a hug and send her off, and she fumbles it. The mom does. But it's still Lady Bird who, when she goes to stand on her own, she kind of needs her mom. And that's a reoccurring theme, and their relationship is a big part of the movie. So we'll get more into that in a second. But I'm just curious, you and I don't want to peel back the curtain too much here, but we may or may not have gone to a high school in the same county. We may or may not have been in high school around the time this movie was set. I'm just curious, was there anything in the plot that really hit to you in terms of like your high school experience, especially because it is literally set in the time that you and I both were in high school?
Around prom kind of hit a little bit for me because
Mhm.
prom is such a big end of high school thing. It's always kind of cliche that the popular kids want to ditch prom, and bringing your friend to prom is a big thing because, you might not get asked out or whatever. But I thought that that felt really realistic, and I was actually really proud of Lady Bird for stepping up and being like, I want to go to prom, and ending up going with her friend and just having a really great time.
And yeah, that was really sweet. I remember prom that night. I ate a gazelle.
I hope it was tasty at least.
There
Yeah.
was no disco ball. Let us know in the comments if you went to the prom or if you live in the jungle. I want to get your score 1 out of 10 for the plot of Lady Bird, just the plot. What do you give it? Despite the fact that it at no point had any cameos from Hank Hill's dog.
Well, that definitely deducted a point. I gave the plot a 7 out of 10. It's a plot that's been seen before. It's not anything that's groundbreaking.
I think that's very, very fair. Timothy Charlemagne is an avid listener of the show. I'm sure you can perhaps win him back because now we are talking about characters and performances.
I think that Lady Bird herself, she really made the movie the most believable. Just her attitude, her wit, her style, that sort of thing. Just, she was my favorite, hands down.
When they're laying on the floor eating communion wafers with their feet up on the lockers, that's just it's so great. Yeah, no, she's such a phenomenal actress. Sometimes people forget that she was a child actor, a young actress, again, an Irish accent, or I'm sorry, an Irish actress, and you would never know. You watch this movie and she's just the
Right.
American teen. Yeah, I wanna talk about the parents for a second because I really thought it was just interesting the way they were portrayed. And I mentioned in my open, like a movie like Juno or even Napoleon Dynamite, where they're obviously built around this really funny, but unique teenager. This movie does the same thing, but the parents in this movie, I don't know, they're just so uniquely layered and flawed, but warm and touching. I don't, what did you think about Lady Bird's folks, the McPhersons?
If Lori Metcalf was my mother, I would be terrified of her. Like, I would be probably just like Lady Bird, pushing back. I thought that her performance was stellar. Like, she definitely gave that mom who is overworked, overtired, financially struggling, raising two teenage kids. She definitely captured that perfectly. The father, I mean, he he seemed pretty typical to me in the sense that he's a dad that just kind of like hangs back, and he's supportive of his kid no matter what, but like he doesn't really have much of a backbone. He just kind of does his thing, and mom, whatever mom says is what goes.
The father character, Larry McPherson is the father. He, I don't know, again, he's just so loving and helpful and kind of giving and really is doing everything he can to help manage the situation as much as he can with all the tools he's given. And I just found the both of them really, really charming and just really, really lovable. There's a lot of great characters in this movie. We got to move on. I got to get a score out of you. 1 out of 10. What did you give the characters and performances?
I gave him an 8. I gave him an 8 out of 10.
We got the 8 locked in for characters and performances, which brings us to visual storytelling. Now, you yourself know a thing or two about making visuals. You are a painter. You've dabbled in photography.
Obviously, it was very nostalgic to the time period when her dad hands her first cell phone at the end. Like that cell phone, man, that brought back memories. That's exactly what my first cell phone looked like. The plaid couch, the box TV, the posters all over the bedroom. But one of the big things that I noticed was just the use of pink
Mhm.
throughout the film, and I thought that was very. I thought that was it was subtle, but it was I don't know. It was just it was a nice touch because obviously her cast is pink, her hair is pink, her bedroom walls are pink, the two dresses she wears are pink, and pink is such a color representative of innocence. And I thought it was interesting that when she transitions to her college life, that pink disappears and she's more neutralized. Like they're saying this is just an innocent girl in this time period, and then she goes off to college and all of a sudden she's an adult.
Yeah, no, that's a really great note. I mean, there's literally a sequence where she's painting her bedroom walls and she's painting the white over
Yeah.
pink walls, and yeah, that is such a great symbol for her innocence. And that's, I mean, effectively what this movie is. It is about a girl becoming a woman in all sorts of different ways, from an education standpoint, from a physical love standpoint, from a maturing and understanding who her parents are and who her friends are. There's all sorts of things that happen in this movie that's just a tad over 90 minutes. But this is a movie that the edit works really, really well. And it moves quickly. They cover a lot of ground. There's a time period where there's a Thanksgiving, and before you know it, it's New
Mm.
Year. They're touching and I think this movie just covers time really, really well.
Lady Bird, I mean, is obviously it's marketed as a comedy, right? But it doesn't have comedy like pacing where Beanie Feldstein was in Booksmart, and that was comedy. That movie was hilarious, but that was like fast paced. Super bad, even super bad. Like the
Oh yeah.
pacing was faster, so it was quite interesting that the pacing was slower for a comedy. That's how I felt anyway. But I thought the editing was really great.
It's interesting that you note that it's kind of a slow, almost like a slower burn, because it feels like there's a lot of really subtle jokes, and they just sort of let them happen and sort of play out. I laughed a lot during this movie. This movie's a lot funnier than I thought it would be. I'm curious. I have a criticism not of the film, but of the marketing, in the sense that I actually think Lady Bird has a really bad movie poster. And I say that because if you don't know what the movie is and you just look at the movie poster, this was not a movie I saw when it immediately came out. Tonally, I don't think it represents it all. I mean, I feel like if you look at the movie poster for Lady Bird, you might almost think it's a horror movie or something.
I think you're absolutely correct because right off the bat, I mean, the movie kind of sets the tone, right? With that, with you can tell it's going to be a comedy because that first quote that comes across the screen about hedonism in California, in Sacramento. It's by Joan Didion. And if you know anything about Joan Didion, you know that she's a famous novelist, but I don't think she's necessarily a comedy writer. I don't think at all, as a matter of fact. And you kind of get the sense that, yeah, this is going to be somewhat of a drama, but it's also a comedy. So, and it's won awards. It's won 2 Golden Globes for Best Actress and Best Motion Picture in a comedy or musical. So, I mean, it is a comedy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a generational movie. I mean, obviously, it's meant to kind of be a little bit of a time capsule. And what's the old saying? The more personal something is, the more universal it is. I believe that's the quote. Let me know in the comments if I botched that quote there. But the reality is, yeah, I don't know. There is sort of an essence to it that feels like it's. I mean, look, what do they say? The only exciting thing about 2002 is that it's a palindrome. That
Yeah.
that made me laugh a lot. But I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of things that maybe generationally people might miss. I could see an older audience not picking up on some of the humor. I could see younger audiences watching this in years to come and not really picking up on some of the humor and the jokes. There's a segment that I'd like to play with you now, because it's going to transition into a question I'm going to bring up. We're going to play a little segment called "Who Can Cry First?" Okay, and this is great for audio. Well, you just laughed, so I win. That's how that works. No, but there's a really funny scene, and the reason I bring this up is because I laughed so hard, and there, it's when the theater group is sitting around on the floor, and they're doing these acting warm-ups, which is a lion who did improv in college and in high school. I did a lot of funny warm-ups like this, so I was very familiar. But at one point, the acting teacher, the father, he says, we're gonna play this game where we all cry, and he ends up being the one to cry first, which again I laughed so hard at. I thought that was hysterical, but I could see that a lot of people might find that funny. That tonally might work in a completely different way. So yeah, this movie definitely has it has a vibe, and I could see how it might not hit with everybody. But I do have another segment if you'd like to play. I know you lost the last one, so you said maybe we can make it up here.
Yeah, let me redeem myself.
Okay. So this is a segment where we're gonna name a star.
Like a celebrity or an actual star.
Well, per the plot point in the movie we're discussing, I was thinking we would name a star in the sky, but if you want to, I suppose, name or maybe rename a member of the cast, we could also do that. I'll let you decide. This is the first time we've ever had a segment, and then I let the guest decide if we change the segment in real time.
I mean, okay, let's do a star in the sky.
Okay, so if you could close your eyes, you can imagine a star. Again, anyone in the comments can let us know what star they're looking at. Jessica, what do you want to name that star?
I want to name it. Ooh, Hot Ruffles.
Wow, was that Hot Ruffles? Did I get
Hot
that?
Ruffles.
Hot Ruffles. All right, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let us know what you think about that one. Visual storytelling, Jessica Collins, or should I call you Hot Ruffles? What would you like 1 out of 10?
I gave visual storytelling. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Even a 9 out of 10. That brings us to use of sound. Now, I remember a day where you once directed a music video, so you know a thing or two about use of sound. What'd you think about Lady Bird's soundtrack, the sound effects, the Foley, perhaps? Maybe you have a hot take on the Foley used in Lady Bird. Uh,
Those footsteps were so good.
oh my gosh, they were crisp and crunchy.
So Lady Bird actually it has a score, its own score by John Bryan, who did very notable films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Punch Drunk Love, and even Step Brothers. He did Step Brothers, which I find hilarious. But yeah,
The movie or the fact that he did three movies that tonally are completely off from Step Brothers. I will say a lot of times I'm watching Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I go, that sound really reminded me of Step Brothers.
what I found interesting was just that his score does fit. Like it's very folksy. You know, he throws in these minor keys in some of the score that just kind of make it feel a little bit more real, a little bit more tense, that sort of thing. But again, it's not a score that is reminiscent of comedy. Like it just brings it back. Like I don't it didn't feel like it had that comedic level to it, the score. I will say I was quite disappointed that there weren't more contemporary songs of that time period used. Like we have Alanis Morissette was used, which was fun, Dave Matthews Band, um, Bone Thugs and Harmony, but some of the other stuff was some of it was like from the 60s, some of it was from the 80s, some of it from the 90s. I just felt like it could have used a little bit more contemporary music, but that's also because I grew up at that time period. I was around the same age, so it just feels like that stuff should have been in there more.
Spoken like a painter, spoken like a photographer, spoken like not the mascot of a production company who's well aware of how much it costs to license music. And
Yeah.
just a reminder, Lady Bird was made on a $10 million budget, so a very
Oh.
small budget, one of the smaller budget films, especially in recent memory that we've reviewed on the show. So yeah, there are definitely some tracks in here, but I agree. I think it would be really fun if, there were some other hits and stuff in there, but licensing, especially in perpetuity, some of those bigger tracks and bands might add 500,000 or something onto that budget. So in any case, there's one sound effect that I do want to point out before I get your score. When Timothy Charlemagne, whose character will remain nameless, as far as I'm concerned, he's just playing Timothy Charlemagne in this movie. Wonderfully, by the way. That's not a criticism. I just enjoy the movie more thinking that. He is vigorously making out with Lady Bird. They are about to make love. Well, you think they might make love. They end up doing it later, but they just sort of hit a wall. And the noise they make when they hit the wall is so funny. It is just this like, but it is just this cartoonish, like almost Looney Tune, like, and it is so funny. And it just really made me laugh. And I thought it was such a fun little detail in what otherwise, again, it's this sort of awkward sex scene, or again, pre-sex scene. It got extra points in my book, but I'll wait to reveal mine until the end. What did you give the use of sound, Jessica Collins?
I gave the use of sound a 6.5.
A 6.5. The half point, broken out ever so rarely. You've chosen to break out the half point now. You get as many
Yeah,
of them as you like, so it's really not even worth pointing out. But that brings us to theme. There's a lot of themes in this movie. I'm curious before I rattle off a few. What were some notable themes?
obviously the number one theme is just like coming of age. Some socioeconomic themes, the desire to have free will, and even love and attention is its own theme that was brought up later in the movie. But yeah, it was definitely a reoccurring theme throughout the movie.
Fortunately for a lot of people in life, coming of age is a really bitter experience. And I feel like this
Yeah,
movie does a really good job of being sweet and funny and fun, but still somehow capturing a lot of the bitterness that comes with
sure.
coming of age. So yeah, no, I really agree. I think that love is just a big theme in this movie and exploring what that love looks like, from a forgiveness standpoint. We didn't really talk about it, but Lady Bird sort of has three boys that she interacts with in the movie, all of them to not so successful. The first boy that she kind of falls for ends up being more interested in boys than ladybirds. He then later comes to her, and you could tell that she's been mad at him and felt kind of both rejected and hurt, and all the things that might come with you know, finding your boyfriend making out with another boy in a bathroom stall. And he comes to her and, pretty quickly starts breaking down. And she just shows him a lot of compassion and forgiveness at
Right.
that time. And that's just a little almost thesis statement about what you're going to continue to see. And Lady Bird, she shows her friend compassion at the prom by going to her house and taking her to the prom. The movie literally ends with her calling her mother and kind of thanking her and showing her love. So I think that love and compassion and understanding your role in things is a really poignant and kind of beautiful theme. To put a bow on all of it, what would you give the theme?
I gave the theme a 9 out of 10.
That's hey, I mean, look, that's perfectly acceptable. You'll find we're not too far off on that one. That gives us a total. I can read you off everything. If you're comfortable, if you feel like all of your scores do not need to be adjusted, I can give you your total.
Let's have it.
You gave the plot a 9, you gave the characters and performances an 8, you gave the visual storytelling a 9, the use of sound a 6.5 because there was no Weezer, and then you gave the themes a 9, which gives us a total of 83. Technically an A on our rubric. Would you like to give Ladybird an A minus, a B plus perhaps?
No, I think she deserves an A.
She deserves an A. All right, her math teacher might disagree with you there, but
Yeah.
we got the 83, the A locked in. Well, we were too far off here. To your 9, I gave the plot a 9. To your 8, I gave the characters and performances a 10. I really thought they were high points. I'm not sure I could have asked much more from the characters and the performances in this movie. So got a 10 for me. Visual storytelling, 8.5 to your 9. Use of sound, 9 to your 6.5. So again, the lack of Nelly didn't didn't affect me as much. I gave it a 9. And then I gave the themes a 9.5 to your 9. I really thought this movie, again, just, I don't know, it really touched me at various points in ways that I wasn't expecting. So I gave it a 92 out of 100 to your 83. That's an A plus to your A. Jessica, I really appreciate you coming and watching this. Did you like watching Lady Bird again? Would you watch it again some other time? Are you going to watch it in the future? I guess is my question. What a weird question to ask, but I'm asking it.
I
Is this your
really, I mean,
last? Let me rephrase that. Is this the last time you're ever going to watch Lady Bird? Are you done with Lady Bird?
done with this podcast.
Oh, good. Wow. What a great endorsement. A good
No,
time for
I
life.
would absolutely watch Lady Bird again. I think I would probably give it a few years, let myself, forget some of the things that happened so I can be surprised again. But yeah, and I would absolutely recommend this movie to anybody. I mean, especially anybody my age who grew up in that time period and just wants to relive, some of the comedic trauma that may have happened in their life.
It's going to resonate with, again, like you said, people our age, and maybe they haven't watched it yet because they looked at the movie poster or the DVD cover because that's a thing after 2017, and they thought, oh, this is a weird horror movie, and they didn't have any comprehension that this is this hilarious and charming coming of age story. Jessica, you are hilarious and charming. I'm really lucky that you came to the jungle. I know that you shit all over the podcast just moments ago, but I'd love to know will you come back to the jungle someday? And again, I'm sorry I haven't mentioned this before, but thank you for wearing the pink cast. I'm sorry.
I'm not wearing a pink cast.
All right, well, let everybody comment and let Jessica know what yes and means. And
Oh,
no, Jessica, it was wonderful having you here. This was so much fun. Just as much fun as watching Lady Bird is talking about it with you. I love you so much. Thank you for coming in. And until next time.
until next time, I promise I'll be back.
All right. And next time, you better have a pink fucking cast.
Yep, I will. Yes, and.
Platinum Plastic isn't just a proud sponsor of Real Talk, they're also the home for all our new designs and merchandise. Follow Platinum Plastic on Redbubble to see all our A+ gear. That's Platinum Plastic on Redbubble for all your Real Talk merch.